Nada disso, esse pitches em zona é matar.
John mesti ngalega.
Just speaking on. Como? You wanna media in asa today? Eita, how's it going? Great, great. Put him on.
Testing 1, 2.
One of the communist parties. When you are because we listen to what we were that and the only thing in there will be but then the life of the party how solved by and when he becomes a trouble, you must abandon South Africa. They want to make that again and then you see, if we are like this, when you it like that, it when you go to the next thing you will even see the candidates of life and that's really what kind of and what is the
The House chairperson.
There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Please be seated. The secretary will read the order.
Debate on vote number 30, Communications and Digital Communications Appropriation Bill.
I will now recognize the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Honorable members, from the heart of Gumbani in Limpopo, the province that I and so many others call home, 2 young South Africans used a second-hand computer with only 700 rands and sheer determination to crack open the digital world. With no formal training, Marvel Shibambu and Malungelo Matonzi, who are joining us virtually today, built an e-learning platform called Nova to help high school learners study for free. They are living proof that the digital technology is a powerful force for unlocking opportunity, expanding access, and transforming lives. Their story went viral, capturing the imagination of South Africans across the country. And what followed was extraordinary. Crowdfunding support, corporate backing through Liberty Lives, Drive Home Initiative, business mentoring, new equipment, and a space to grow their vision. I was honored to be part of the support that both Marvel and Malungelo have built in more than just creating an app. Their example is a powerful real-life example of how digital access can change lives, showing what is possible when opportunity meets talent and determination that lives in so many South Africans. It is from stories like these that I draw inspiration and what has guided the 2025-26 budget vote for the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies. With this budget, it is our task to amplify our impact and to ensure that digital access and opportunity reaches every corner of the country. Because when we connect people, we don't just change individual lives, but we ignite economic potential, foster social inclusion, and spur progress that can drive this nation together, leaving no one behind. House Chairperson, the ICT sector has the potential to move us even closer to this goal as the sector remains a critical driver of South Africa's economic growth. According to BMIT's 2025 SA ICT Market Sizing and Overview Report, South Africa's ICT market achieved a 7.7 year-on-year growth, significantly outperforming the general economy. And so, to continue our drive to build a capable, secure, and responsive ICT ecosystem that can serve as a catalyst for digital growth, innovation, and inclusion, our department has been allocated a total of 7.8 billion over the medium-term expenditure framework. Of this amount, 5.4 billion, which amounts to 69.1%, is allocated to transfers to our entities and project-specific funding. In the 2025-26 financial year, our estimated expenditure will be at 2.5 billion, with 69% earmarked for transfers and subsidies to support the work of our key entities. ICASA receives 588 million this year, which includes an additional 102 million for the second phase of the spectrum licensing auction. The Film and Publication Board is allocated 338 million over the MTF period to support its mandate of protecting citizens, especially children, by regulating media content in a responsible and responsive way. USASA receives 268 million for its operations, while the Universal Services and Access Fund is allocated 173 million to advance digital inclusion and initiatives in unconnected areas. The public broadcaster will receive 704 million over the MTF period. This includes 43 million for program production, 464 million to support the core public broadcasting mandate, and 197 for Channel Africa, which amplifies South Africa's voice across the continent. Furthermore, the department has published the request for proposals to develop a more sustainable funding model that is much needed for the public broadcaster. NEMISA is allocated 318 million over the same period to strengthen its role in digital skills development and media training, helping to equip young people with the capabilities they need for the future. The SA Connect program has been allocated 710 million to accelerate broadband expansion, particularly in schools, clinics, and rural communities where access remains limited. The South African Post Office is allocated 1.8 billion to fulfill its universal services obligations and improve service delivery. This funding will help support SAPO's efforts to diversify revenue, rebuild trust, and stabilize operations. And the Deputy Minister will elaborate on the advances we've made with the South African Post Office. Honorable members, from the onset, we've been clear about what ought to be done. We must fix the fundamentals, restore accountability, and lay a foundation for meaningful, lasting progress that improves lives. Together with the department, we have made key strides to strengthen governance across the portfolio. We have finalized board appointments at Broadband Infraco, Zetna, Centec, and Postbank, reinforcing ethical leadership and professionalism. I'd also like to thank the Portfolio Committee for its role in the interviews and recommendation process for the ICASA councillors, and can also confirm that the process for the boards of SETA and Post Office are underway. We have also convened our first governance and compliance delivery workshop, bringing together all our entities supported by the Auditor General, Public Protector, the Public Service Commission, and the National Treasury. This marked a chapter of joint accountability, strong compliance, and a firm commitment to consequence management. As part of our ongoing efforts to uphold good governance, we've also approached the Public Service Commission to investigate the endemic lapse of governance and procurement irregularities that have contributed to the instability at SETA. And we're hoping that the Public Service Commission will be able to finalize that investigation timeously. Honorable members, through the draft policy direction on equity equivalent investment programs in the ICT sector, the intention is to fully align ICT sector codes with broader transformation laws. This provides clarity and certainty while ensuring that global companies meet transformation obligations through a variety of interventions, including skills development, SMME support, and shared infrastructure investment. We have received more than 19,000 submissions in the public consultation process. And while the analysis will kick off, I want to thank everyone and every South African who had made contributions to this regard, including the political parties in this house who have made their submissions. We are also taking measures to empower departments to procure digital services where there is a compelling case for better value and faster turnaround times. The amended SETA regulations will strengthen national and provincial capacity to deliver reliable, cost-effective digital services. We have successfully lobbied the National Treasury to reduce the ad valorem tax on smart devices priced below the 2,500 value, and are working together with the GSMA to measure this impact and to further explore additional steps to make smart devices much more affordable. Together with the private sector partners, universities, and non-profit organizations, we have launched over 8 cyber labs at schools in underdeserved communities, which offer robotics, coding, devices repair, creating a pathway to the digital economy. Through SA Connect, some of the work that has gone underway in the last 24 months also include broadband to 1.8 million households and supporting 79 internet service providers and SMMEs. In the same period, Broadband Infraco has connected over 3,400 public Wi-Fi hotspots. While the infrastructure backbone is now in place, we expect that with the pace of rollout and the availability of funds, we will be able to at least reach 5.5 million households by the end of 2026. The government has equally made significant strides in digitizing government services. Over 136 services are now available online. This is reflected in the 2024 UN e-Government Index, where South Africa rose from 65th position in 2022 to 40th today, making it the highest ranked African country. Our ranking in the e-participation index also improved from 61st to 29th, showing that more citizens are using digital tools to engage government. International players like Microsoft have committed 5.4 billion to expand cloud and AI infrastructure by 2027. Equally, other companies, including IBM, Amazon Web Services, and Canal Plus, are also expanding their operations in South Africa. To this end, we'd also like to welcome the agreement that has been reached by the Competition Commission, Vodacom, and Maziv to proceed with the merger of the two, which includes commitments to lower data cost, broaden coverage, and improve connectivity. This aligns with government's ongoing efforts to connect more communities to affordable high-speed internet. We are also looking forward to the Competition Tribunal's finalization of Canal Plus' proposed acquisition of MultiChoice. Equally, we would want to congratulate Telkom for finally delivering on a dividend to the government for the first time in a while, bringing to the national fiscus over $500 million. Chair, while we are making steady progress, the reality is that this progress is not fast and expansive enough. The reality is that far too many people remain deprived of access to affordable and reliable connectivity, and government failures at our entities impede our ability to deliver services the services that our people are entitled to. These are compounded by policy uncertainty, an outdated regulatory framework, and a lack of adequate institutional capacity to deal with the rapid evolution of the ICT sector. Earlier this year, the unlock switch off, which was planned for the end of March, was halted by the courts. Having taken note of the court's findings, we've given the department's legal representatives the mandate to engage with their counterparts to ensure that we can find a non-litigious solution to this lingering issue. Overcoming these challenges is at the core of the department's strategic response, which informs our approach. Many stakeholders, including the Portfolio Committee, various industry members, have called for a review, some even advocating for a revitalization of legislation governing this sector. I've heard all of these calls, and I agree with you. 30 years into our democracy, the legislation in our portfolio has not kept up with the evolution of our sector. It is for this reason that we'll be convening a legislative and policy colloquium in this quarter. The process will bring together all stakeholders, government, business, civil society, and academia to determine collectively the exact next steps needed to ensure that our legislation is fit for purpose and future-oriented. And I want to emphasize that this will be an intense and an inclusive process that we ought to move with speed and urgency to drive this collective agenda that will spur change and progress. Chair, we are being disrupted by technology here. House Chairperson, we have today gazetted the draft white paper on audio and the audiovisual media services and online white paper. We'll also continue to pursue meaningful connectivity that drives affordability, reliability, and that is fast enough for modern applications. Through the Cost to Communicate program, ICASA's updated regulations, improving access to smart devices and further connecting more undeserved communities, we are acting collectively to expand internet access to close the digital divide. We are also launching our initiative today to expand access to smart devices because we recognize that these have become an essential tool for connectivity. The Department of Communications and Digital Technologies will facilitate a process between government, original equipment manufacturers, and the private sector to provide access to smart devices to learners, students, and township entrepreneurs. We are calling on our private sector partners to pledge resources for this initiative so that we can reach as many beneficiaries as possible. Through these pledges, the private sector and all our partners in society will help deal with the major inhibitor towards connectivity, which is access to the infrastructure that enables people to actively take charge of the opportunities that exist. Government will facilitate this process rather than be involved in procurement so that we reach the ultimate beneficiaries. The governance and performance of our entities in our portfolio has been a standing concern for some time in this portfolio, and we are determined to change the course of this. As part of our ongoing efforts of proactive measures to increase accountability in the portfolio, we've introduced monthly governance cycles where entities report directly to us rather than relying on quarterly measurements. We've instructed the department to conduct monthly expenditure reviews to identify areas for cost saving and to enforce financial discipline. And we are also continuing with the much needed work towards the rationalization of SOEs to ensure greater efficiency, including the merger of Centec and BBI, continuing with the process of disestablishing USASA and repurposing the Universal Services Access Fund, and also the redesigning the business model for CETA. The work ahead requires that a new standard in this portfolio must be defined by performance and accountability, not excuses nor complacency. House Chairperson, making progress will require that we all approach every day with an unwavering commitment to serving the people of South Africa. And to make meaningful progress will require that we work with all stakeholders in society to ensure that we all play our part in driving the progress that we need. As I conclude, House Chair, I want to extend my sincere appreciation to the Deputy Minister for his continued support for the work we do in this portfolio. I also want to thank the Director General, all the Deputy Director Generals and officials in the department for their continued support and contribution in delivering in our mandate. My appreciation equally extends to the board members, the CEOs and leadership of all those entities for their commitment to our strategic objectives, including their officials. The progress we are working to achieve depends on the collective effort, discipline and accountability for all of us that have given this precious privilege of leading the portfolio. And as we table our budget, it is a reflection of our public commitment to South Africa's digital future. It is about injecting the energy into the work that we are doing to close the digital divide and make sure that each and every South African has access to the transformative power of connectivity. To achieve all of this means change is inevitable. And in pursuit of this, I often draw inspiration from the words of the literary giant Arnold Bennett from his seminal book, The Great Adventures, when he said, "Any change, even change for the better, is always accompanied by drawbacks and discomforts. It is how we navigate those discomforts that ultimately counts." This budget is our commitment to serve with a clarity of purpose and an unrelenting precision towards meaningful delivery. Honorable members, it is my honor to table to you the budget vote for the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies for the 2025-2026 financial year.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I will now recognize Honorable Sangoni.
Technology. Madam House Chair, Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister, the honorable members of this august House, esteemed and valued stakeholders in the ICT sector, and I especially want to acknowledge the CFO of Telkom, Ms. Nonkululeko Dlamini, who is with us in the chamber today. I understand she comes bearing gifts of more than R500 million in dividends that is due to the South African people. Fellow South Africans, it was exactly 12 months ago that the Portfolio Committee on Communications and Digital Technologies of the 7th Parliament was constituted. The first order of business of the new committee was to adopt the 2024-2025 budget vote of the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies. With a strong sense of purpose and hope in our hearts, we approved, within a matter of hours if my memory serves well, a budget of 3.9 billion rands for the year for the department and its entities. It was with great optimism that we believed that we were continuing with the vital work of building a digitally connected and inclusive society. That budget, Minister, was meant to be a springboard to connect our people, uplift our rural communities, build local innovation, and ignite inclusive growth. So as we meet here today, we are faced with the same task of approving yet another year's budget. We must pause and collectively ask ourselves, what did we do with that perfect opportunity that was bestowed on us 12 months ago? 1 year on, our vision as a committee remains the same: to ensure that every South African, regardless of geography or socioeconomic status, has access to the tools, infrastructure, and opportunities that are needed to thrive in the digital age. As a committee, we have remained focused on delivery of our constitutional mandate, lawmaking, executive oversight, and public participation. We have made significant progress, just as we have endured significant setbacks. Amongst the sparks of progress that we have witnessed is the SABC achieving its first unqualified audit in over a decade. The South African Post Office has moved closer to exiting business rescue, with plans underway to reposition it in the e-commerce space as the post office of the future. We have traveled as a committee to rural areas far and remote, and we have seen households in areas like Emanqesibeni connected to affordable internet via the SA Connect program. The Post Bank has advanced compliance with the variation notice of the Reserve Bank, and that brings it that much closer to be a fully licensed state bank. The committee has also instituted quarterly oversight on the implementation of audit plans, which we now are beginning to influence improved governance. Working with the Portfolio Committee on Science, Technology and Innovation under the capable leadership of the chairperson, Honorable Tsakane Shiviti, we have firmly placed the National Satellite Communication Program front and center of government's agenda, with the last report received from the minister indicating that this strategy was en route to be adopted by cabinet. But during the course of this year, Madam Speaker, we have also encountered significant challenges. While we conducted oversights from areas such as Lusikisiki and Diepsloot to better understand the challenges our people confront in terms of technology, we have needed to echo the calls of millions and carry the hopes and frustrations of the people directly to the door of our telecoms companies. We gave voice and urgency to the cries of the people telling Vodacom, MTN, Telkom, Cell C, and Rain that the people demand reliable rural connectivity, lower data prices, data that does not expire, inclusive economic participation, and better quality of services. Today, as we speak, key legislation such as the SABC bill and the amendment of the Electronic Communications Act have stalled. And if this strategic plan that we are debating today as part of the budget is anything to go by, such legislation is at risk of being abandoned altogether. The gains of transformation are being reversed, and our portfolio of state-owned enterprises are facing an assault on their mandates from the very department that is meant to protect them. The department's lackluster pace in enacting urgent legislative reform has weakened the sector and left the vulnerable defenseless, whether it be women who are bullied on online platforms or struggling media entities that are being cannibalized by over-the-top services. The department's inaction on legislation affects all of them and sends a clear message that they are on their own. Madam Speaker, we understood 12 months ago, as we still do today, that the task of building a truly connected society would be daunting. Leadership instability at the highest level has plagued the department over many years. Since the dawn of democracy, communications has had no less than 16 ministers, each one bringing their own vision, more often than not dismantling what came before. Very few of them served long enough to drive sustainable transformation, and the result is what we see today. A department without memory in doing, a department without momentum in execution, and a department without mastery in innovation and resilience. It is no exaggeration to say that the sector today still remains rudderless and directionless. In search of a sector lodestar, we look to the Presidential Commission on the 4IR's recommendations, to the Digital Economy Master Plan, and now recently the Digital Transformation Roadmap. We have no single coherent industry vision co-created with the sector and driven at the center. Implementation of what even exists often lags, mandates overlap, and resources are squandered. Madam House Chair, honorable members, we are tasked to lead a sector that is the gate to a different world becoming. A world shaped not by land or minerals, by code. A world not ruled by guns or borders, but networks, algorithms, and data. A world where progress is measured not by how fast we dig, but how fast we connect, innovate, and imagine. And yet, in the sweeping tide of digital transformation, South Africa is lagging. Not because we lack talent, not because we lack will, but because we lack urgency, vision, and a united direction. The rest of the world is not waiting for us. India has launched its own digital public infrastructure, linking ID payments and social services through one seamless system. Rwanda has built drone corridors to deliver medicines in the most remote villages. Kenya's Silicon Savannah is creating thousands of jobs through tech hubs and local innovation. In South Africa, ICT continues to be treated as a footnote rather than a driver of economic growth and job creation. So I say again, as we meet today and consider the approval of a significant budget, we are duty-bound to ask ourselves some difficult questions. We must ponder whether through this budget we are once again funding a series of missed opportunities and unfulfilled promises. We must critically engage on whether this department can truly deliver without a cohesive vision and strategic alignment. Or are we enabling the department to remain an albatross around the neck of innovation and progress? It is our responsibility to question what is the cost of delay of crucial legislative and other reforms required to leapfrog our digital economy. We must ask the question, can South Africa afford to miss the digital future? Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, once said, the digital revolution can be a force for good, but will not happen on its own. We need to steer it with clear strategy, coordination, and courage. South Africa must respond with urgency and intent. So we're calling on the minister to set out a clear vision for the industry and mobilize all stakeholders to realize it. We're saying to the minister, pick a side, and I hope it is the right side. Run with it so that we know where you stand on important matters, such as economic transformation in favor of the Black majority, the nature of effective competition in the sector, market consolidation, price regulation, the formation of a state bank, funding of SABC's public mandate, meaningfully capacitating the state digital infrastructure company, and the enduring call for a wireless open access network, national and digital sovereignty. To this end, Minister, and after having extensive engagements with the ministry and the department, we reiterate our call that department must prioritize modernizing the legislative framework. Our laws are relics of a bygone era, crafted before artificial intelligence, cloud computing, before the internet was in every child's home. We cannot regulate AI over the top services or digital platforms with outdated legislation. In the coming weeks, the committee will adopt its own legislative agenda to ensure that our laws support innovation, competition, and investment in emerging technologies. This we will do to safeguard the integrity of our laws to ensure that they are not amended by stealth or policy directors. Number 2, you must accelerate inclusive economic transformation. Number 3, you must strengthen digital infrastructure and sovereignty. We cannot allow multinational platforms to dictate our digital reality. We must be clear, Minister, on our intentions to provide for our own people and not to be seen as a place and opportunity for racist and predatory elements that seek to undermine our country. Technology. Minister, you must enhance cybersecurity and online safety. You must stabilize our state-owned entities. Our state-owned entities are fighting like siblings in a dysfunctional home. Centec and the SABC, SAPO and the Post Bank, BBI with Eskom Transnet, and CETA with everybody else. The rest of the speech, Minister, we will send to you, but we do want to thank you so much for your continued engagement in the Portfolio Committee. We thank the Deputy Minister, the Director General, and the leadership as a whole for your continued engagement with the committee. The African National Congress supports the approval of this budget, not because we believe, Minister, that you are taking us anywhere, but because we know that we have a responsibility to work with you. We know that responsibility to work with you in furtherance of the digital future.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, and also officials in the gallery, you are invited maybe to be present in the gallery, but you do not actively participate in the debate because you are not members of parliament. So the clapping of hands and the excitement that you show. I think you'll do it outside, but here only members of parliament are allowed to do this. As we proceed, let me acknowledge and call upon Honorable Gubane.
Happy 10 billion dollars. Happy 10 billion dollars.
Honorable House Chair,
Honorable members,
honorable
yes.
members, representative from the DCDT entities, stakeholders in the ICT community, people of South Africa that we serve, good morning. You see, Chairperson, I'm still confused. How do you support this budget? It confuses all of us. Your speech was right online, but you spoiled the whole thing. Sooner or later, somewhere along the line, the ANC must be fair itself and have this speech and say, we reject this budget. Look at us, Chairperson. Look at us, Chairperson. As MK Party, we vehemently reject this budget. Reason being, this department under this minister keeps on doing the same thing over and over and over again, but they expect different result. As MK, we're never gonna stoop that low. Let me take this opportunity to first and foremost congratulate Telkom for the appointment of Miss Beauty Apleni as the CEO of OpenServe. A humble lady that started from the beginning at Telkom as a business analyst in data warehouse and climbed the ropes of Telkom, I mean. At least in the midst of SABC unilateral bill withdrawal, attempt of BE sanitization, CETA and Department of Home Affairs collaboration in trying to reverse the transversal so that private sector take over. In all this quagmire of the mess of the GNU, at least there is some hope that there are people that rises from the ashes and come and head entities by Telkom like Beauty Apleni. We humbly congratulate her. So, Chairperson, the Palapala saga and the Mkwanazi saga need one solution only. It needs the unsealment of the funding of the CR17 bank statement so that South Africa will be saved. Everything must be transparent. This vote we are debating today, vote 30, is no ordinary budget line. It is a political battlefield over who controls the future of our digital economy. Is it the people or the connected one or the elite? Let me remind this House, revolution is not a tweet or is not a liberation, is not a liberated or the free Wi-Fi. As Umkhonto weSizwe, we do not celebrate budget figures while our people remain digitally dispossessed. The 1.56 billion rand allocation, we don't know where it's going to. We see that 1.56 billion is being transferred to state-owned entities like Centec, Broadband and FACO in CASA, GCIS and SAPO. But let's talk, what do we get in return? Are our rural villages connected to fiber? No. Is our youth trained in digital skills? No. Are our SOEs clean and functional as we speak? No. In fact, Chairperson, if you go to so many of these SOE today, you will find more tenders than technicians, more consultants than coders, and more spin doctors than signal strength. This is the digital capture and not the digital development. On GCIS, government is using this as its propaganda machine. GCIS received the budget with conditions. That alone is a red flag. They say they are communicating with the people, but GCIS is only communicating with the ANC. It's a PR machine for the political elite as well. We want to ask, how is this budget democratizing access to information? Why are community radio stations like Inkonjane FM being infiltrated by the officials board that is of conflict interest? This needs to be investigated again. We've been raising this thing and over as if we are not well in our head. These things need to be investigated. The collapse of the post office. In the post office, you can do turnaround strategy after turnaround strategy, new board, new executive. If you don't tighten the loophole of the endless loophole of corruption there, people will come and go as they please. I've even been friendly DM to give advice that entity, I can tell you now. That's why we say we are not supporting the mediocre budget that keeps doing the same thing over and expect different results. You will change board CEOs. That entity, you need to be tightening up the endless corruption. That's a gold mine of the entity that this government doesn't see. And it's now going down the drain. And the couriers are now ripping it off. They're taking the staff that is experienced and hire them. Now they're talking about the change in direction of their business because this thing is falling apart right in our face. Let us not pretend that the post office is no longer a national asset. This entity is a crime scene on its own. It received 381 million rand bailout, and we still ask, where is the audit report? Why are our workers unpaid, branches closed, and communities left stranded? We as Mkhonto Wesizwe, we demand a forensic audit of all SAPO bailouts since 2019. We want to know who ate the people's money, who ate the people's mail and money as well. No budget without justice. This vote set aside 301 million for infrastructure and 70 million for ICT skills and capacity development. But ask any young person in Lusigisigi, in Nongoma, in Malamulele, or in Alexandra, where is the broadband? It's nowhere. Where is the Wi-Fi? Where is the training? This is not capacity development. It's an elite recycling. The same families, same networks, same entrepreneurs are ones benefiting from these budgets. President Zuma said, you cannot just speak about transformation without understanding the power. This budget speaks of transformation in theory, but in practice, power remains in the hands of those who look like us, but they keep serving the capital. We must not confuse black faces with black power. As Mkhonto Wesizwe, we want a digital economy that serves the working class, not the white monopoly elite platforms wrapped in black PR. Our demands in this house are clear. Quarterly performance reports for all SOEs received DCDT funds, forensic audit into SAPO and GCIS spending, full disclosure of beneficiaries of ICT training programs with a provincial breakdown, a People's Digital Summit to redefine transformation in the sector, amendment of the MDDA Act to criminalize political interference and in the community media. In conclusion, Chairperson, we assist that we will not support the funding of the propaganda, the funding of the looting, and the funding of the betrayal. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I will now recognize Honorable Vilakazi.
Honorable Chairperson, fellow citizens. In the digital age, power lies not only in institutions, but in infrastructure. The ability to connect to data, to services, to opportunity is what increasingly defines who participates in society and who is left behind. This makes the work of the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies not just important, but urgent. Its strategic plan and annual performance plan sets out a compelling vision, a digitally transformed society and a localized competitive economy. We welcome the department's continued focus on digital inclusion, the migration of government sites to zero-rated to the zero-rated gov.za platform and the growing attention to digital skills development. Importantly, the committee is also pleased that the department has agreed to integrate the committee's proposed refinements to its strategic plan, APP, and budget. This reflects a welcome responsiveness. It also signals that this committee does not see its role as merely rubber stamping departmental plans. We take our constitutional mandate seriously. Oversight must have presence and impact. Let me raise 5 areas of concern. First, a long-standing and widely acknowledged obstacle to sector growth is missing or outdated legislation. The legal framework for communications and digital technologies is no longer fit for purpose. For that reason, the committee welcomes the minister's bold decision to convene a policy colloquium to inform a comprehensive overhaul of the Electronic Communications Amendment Bill. This is precisely the kind of forward-looking leadership that is needed, Minister. Second, the department's performance indicators have room for improvement. Too many are activity-based, measuring outputs like frameworks or reports rather than real outcomes. Others seem detached from the operational capacity of the department. Targets like 90% 5G coverage or 100% fiber to government sites sound visionary, but mean little without tracked milestones, transparency, and consequence for non-performance. The need for the committee to more closely oversee the department's monitoring and planning tools highlights serious challenges in management follow-through in these areas. Closely related is a long-standing internal imbalance. Senior management staff make up just 25% of the department's workforce, yet absorb over 50% of the compensation of employees, without clear evidence of proportionate delivery in management. Kwesithathu, sihlalo, kunokuphikisana lokukhulu phakathi kwelihlelo lokwabiwa kwetimali, ibudget, kanye nomsebenzi lotokwendiwa ku-APP. ICASA inikwe imali lengaba digitsi letingama202 102 million rand yekutsengisa ispectrum kulonyaka, kodwa kuto lekushiwo ngalokho ku-APP. Futhi i-SA Connect luhlelo lokufinyelelisa i-internet loluhamba phambili emnyangweni. Lumile njengamanje, lulinze kuvunyelwa yi-Treasury kuthi kusetshenziswe kabusha imali leyasala nyakenye. Loku akukavunyelwa futhi akunasiqiniseko ukuthi kutawuvunyelwa. Ngakho-ke, noma umnyango ukhuluma ngokukhulisa luhlelo lokwanzisa i-internet, ikakhulu etindaweni tasemakhaya, kunobungoti lobukhulu ukuthi lokhu kungenteki. Bosomabhizinisi labancane lababambisene nomnyango kulomsebenzi batitfola sebamukwe licatha emlonyeni. Live lelixhumeke jikelele ngokwe-internet telenteka kunetithembiso letingakafezeki. Fourth, long-standing reforms to state-owned entities must finally be delivered. BPI, Centec, SABC, SAPO, and Postbank are at various stages of institutional vulnerability. The state digital infrastructure company remains unrealized. Rationalization has been spoken about for years. Let this minister be the one who breaks the cycle, who moves the department from planning to execution, underpinned by clear governance frameworks, political will, and a managed transition strategy. Fifth, that departments must elevate its response to cybersecurity and digital safety. In an era of rising cybercrime, digital manipulation, and critical infrastructure vulnerabilities, digital trust is not an option, it is foundational. Chairperson, in the digital age, power lies in infrastructure, but progress lies in execution. Siyabonga.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. I will now recognize Honorable Tambo.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Maybe let me begin by extending my apologies if I sound a bit irritable. I woke up this morning to a report that the public protector will be investigating matters relating to the Minister of Police, Senzo Mkhono. I find it extremely disturbing because that institution has become one that justifies criminality. I want to urge the Honorable Zungula to go and withdraw his complaint because the outcome there is going to delegitimize that entire process. So I want us to at least speak to that. Chairperson, the Economic Freedom Fighters unequivocally rejects this proposed budget as it represents a persistent and systemic failure to close the digital divide and uphold access to information, which is a fundamental human right. I want to first begin by addressing the well-intentioned but misguided interpretation of the Money Bills Act. And the Honorable Kusela will remember we always have debates about this as it relates to the VAT process. So there is no preconditional support of a budget that is applicable. So you can't say that we are supporting a budget, whether it be the fiscal framework and revenue proposals or the division of revenue bill or the appropriations bill, with the assumption that the conditional support will be applied, because you won't have any recourse when that conditional support is not followed through. So I want to urge that this committee must not approach it in that manner. It is a well-meaning intended interpretation of the Money Bills Act, but it is one that is not going to follow through. And this relates to the non-alignment of the annual performance targets and the strategic plans. So it's the same logic that was used during the support of the fiscal framework process in terms of the second iteration of it, which contained the VAT increases. And I want us to not do the same process as well here. One of my particular concerns is that the conditional support of the budget vote is misaligned and misplaced because it applies to also with regards to the equity equivalent investment programs, as these are governed by legislation which is regulated by the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition, not the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies. On top of this, there's a commitment to create 20,000 jobs in the digital economy program, but no indication as to how these will be done over the medium term and how it relates to the target of 150,000 jobs, which is outlined in the strategic 5-year plan. The misplacement of a target regarding the equity equivalent programs may not be a coincidence, but forms part of what we think is the mischief we have been dealing with in the committee, where there is a proposed alignment of the Electronic Communications Act and the ICT sector code to allow for foreign satellite companies to subvert the ECA and 30% local ownership mandates using equity equivalents. This is a proposal we've objected to because the so-called alignment would require an amendment to legislation, and this cannot be achieved through a ministerial policy directive. In our view, this is all in service of allowing Starlink to operate in South Africa, and we must state that we will never allow Starlink, which was weaponized misinformation and capture of the White House, to erode US and South Africa's diplomatic relations in order to ease business access in South Africa. We view that as economic and diplomatic terrorism, and any company, even if Starlink were to meet equity equivalent requirements, there's a security threat that it poses that it must never be allowed to operate in South Africa, and we will never allow it to do so. Chairperson, now that we have dealt with legislative mischief, I want to address bread and butter issues affecting our people. The cost of data is not only expensive, but its existence as a perishable commodity in the hands of our people contributes to the violation of a human right to access to information. Considering that this has been a prominent conversation in society and that there's been a commitment to cut data costs but to no avail, and considering that the budget is part of affordable connectivity, and that this is not considered in this budget as part of affordable connectivity is alarming. This budget should have developed a strategic plan to establish a state-owned telecommunications company which would be afforded the adequate amount of spectrum to ensure our people have connectivity. The major telecommunications companies met with us as a committee and spent their time rationalizing as a matter of profit the expiry of data and airtime, spend their time avoiding explaining how they operate as financial service providers who sell funeral policies and life insurance, and avoiding the collusion between themselves and the regulator ICASA, where there's a revolving door between board members of ICASA and employment opportunities at mobile network operators. The commitment to profit maximization should have been an indication that we do not have sovereign control of the telecommunications sector, and we're at the mercy of companies who dictate when and how we use our data and airtime. Any budget that does not plan to remove our nation away from the dependency from MTN, Vodacom, Cell C is not worth the paper that it is written on. We had an auction of spectrum in 2022 and predictably MTN and Vodacom, due to their financial muscle, dominated the acquisition of spectrum, meaning less competition to them and continued high prices of data. To then allocate 102 million for licensing in 2025-2026 through an auction process is an exercise in futility, because the same giants will dominate that auction process and maintain poor quality of services and high costs of data. The quality of service is appalling. In places like Matatiela, Leboago, Mazirast, Pongola, our parents must literally climb mountains to call their grandchildren who are at universities and schools. If school children want to study, they must wait until midnight and 5 a.m. to be able to study, because data is restricted to usage during those times. You cannot build a digitally inclusive society while relying solely on private sector control of telecommunications, and even worse, seeking to introduce entities such as Starlink, which leverage political disagreements to enter domestic markets while not complying with our laws. The chronic underinvestment in modernizing the SABC is disgraceful. The deteriorating Auckland Park building symbolizes the broader crisis. Low staff morale due to poor pay, stagnating creativity from a lack of strategic project funding, and the absence of innovation once seen, which created productions such as Yizo Yizo, Gazlam, Zone 14, Home Affairs, and many other compelling productions. The SABC lacks coherent funding model, and this is deeply troubling. The allocation of 7.8 billion on its own to the department is laughable and reflective of how this government lacks an appreciation of the role of the digital economy in modernization and job creation. So we therefore cannot in good conscience support this budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I will now recognize Honorable Langa.
Thank you very much, Most Honorable House Chairperson. And greetings to the Minister, Deputy Minister, Department Leadership, Entities Leadership, Honorable Members, and fellow South Africans. Honorable House Chair, the IFP acknowledges this budget vote and emphasizes that in today's fast-changing world, access to reliable, affordable, and secure communication is not a privilege, but a constitutional and developmental necessity, as it underpins service delivery, education, economic participation, and even the exercise of democratic rights. The IFP remains deeply concerned that millions of South Africans, particularly in rural and township areas, continue to be excluded from meaningful participation in the digital economy. In this regard, the IFP welcomes the continued rollout of the South Africa Connect project. However, this must translate into tangible benefits for ordinary citizens, not merely infrastructure statistics. The IFP is equally concerned about the persistent operational and financial challenges facing the South African Post Office. While SAPO remains a critical instrument for inclusive service delivery, especially in rural areas, the lack of viable commercial recovery strategy threatens its long-term sustainability. The IFP supports the finalization and implementation of the Post Office of Tomorrow strategy and calls on the department to ensure that SAPO branches are adequately resourced, digitized, and repurposed as government service hubs. This includes ensuring the functionality of all retained branches and enabling SAPO to deliver citizen-centric services. Revenue diversification, digital integration with Postbank, and consistent reporting on infrastructure investment must be prioritized. The future of SAPO must reflect both financial viability and its essential social mandate. The IFP welcomes the department's strategic emphasis on building a capable, ethical, and developmental state. This includes expanding broadband access, promoting digital skills development, and supporting the growth of the local ICT sector, especially youth and women-led SMMEs. We believe these goals must now be backed by measurable implementation targets and consistent leadership. We take note of Centec's steady revenue growth with projected earnings of 5.6 billion over the MTEF period. However, rising costs, exchange rate volatility, and weak operation margins present risks. Similarly, the SABC's digital strategy and its goal to reaching over 1 million users of SABC Plus by 2027-28 is ambitious, but long-term sustainability demands urgent resolution of the broadcaster's funding model and its public mandate. Honorable House Chair, it is critical that the department champions a cohesive national vision and ensure South Africa is positioned as a globally competitive digital nation. A practical, future-proof ICT system is the backbone of any modern economy. The IFP urges the department to provide the regulatory certainty and investment, friendly environment needed to unlock innovation, bridge inequality, and promote access for all. In the light of the matters raised above, the IFP supports this budget vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. I will now recognize Honorable Hendricks.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable the Minister, DM, and Honorable members of the House, not forgetting my patriotic fellow South Africans. Good morning. The Patriotic Alliance South Africa, the Patriotic Alliance support budget vote 30 for the Department of Communication and Digital Technology. However, our support is not a blank check. It comes with a firm call for urgent reforms, clear accountability, and a bold commitment to positioning South Africa as a leader in the global digital economy. Digital transformation in education. If we are serious about the fourth industrial revolution, we must begin where it matters most, in our schools. We call for the integration of artificial intelligence into the curriculum. AI is more than automation. It is a transformative tool that can reshape education, health, and public safety. In education, AI can personalize learning, identify learning gaps, and deliver targeted support. In healthcare, AI-powered diagnostics can help detect diseases early and reduce on our public health system. In public safety, predictive policing and smart surveillance can assist in addressing crime, a crisis our community knows too well. We are calling for Wi-Fi hotspots in informal settlements, rural areas, and township schools. This is not charity, it is a restorative justice. Let us not delay Vision 2030, demand an inclusive, skilled, and innovative economy. We cannot achieve this if our learners are left behind in outdated systems. Support for SMMEs and inclusive job creations. Minister, we also welcome the 5-year plan to create 150,000 jobs in digital economy. But these jobs must be inclusive. Africans, coloreds, Indians, and whites. Every South African must benefit equally. Globally, nations have built strong digital economies by investing in youth and small businesses. They've reclaimed water, launched tech hubs, and trained young people in areas like cybersecurity, AI, and green technology. We ask why not here? The Patriotic Alliance will advocate for innovation hubs in every province, coding bootcamps, skills in device repairs and broadband installations, smart agricultural and low-cost water tech. We must empower youth. We must empower youth to become builders, not bystanders. Language inclusion and digital heritage. The digital economy must also reflect our culture, our cultural diversity. We insist that the department recognize and support Afrikaans in digital content and broadcasting. In hulle eie taal, laat die mense praat. Cybersecurity and digital sovereignty. In the digital age, data is a new gold. South Africa must protect its digital infrastructure. We urge government to work with skilled, reputable companies to build and secure our servers. Data breaches are not just IT issues, they are economic threats. Finally, this budget must be spent transparently, efficiently, and ethically. Corruption cannot be tolerated, not in the department, not in any. Strong oversight and consequent management are not optional. They are essential. Conclusion, Honorable Chairperson, this budget is more than numbers. It's a blueprint of our digital future. Let us embrace AI, enforce accountability, support SMMEs, Minister, protect our data, uproot corruption. The time for talk is over. The time for action is now.
Thank
The
you,
Patriotic
Honorable.
Alliance support the budget, but we will be watching.
Thank you. I will now recognize Honorable Tenor.
House Chairperson, universal access to digital technologies is crucial to enable South Africans to engage in work and social interactions, to access government and other services, to participate in economic activities, and to exercise accountability over those in positions of power. Access to digital technologies also play an important role in safety and security and the protection and promotion of the well-being of all. Historically, however, this department and its entities has failed in as far as these goals and mandates are concerned, and we are all knowledgeable about that. The absolute lack of political will, blatant fraud and corruption, a flagrant abuse of state resources, labor unrest, resources and funding constraints, and a shameless lack of proper management or even mismanagement has systematically denied the people of South Africa the right to be informed, to participate, to contribute, and to assert themselves in a technological age. The proven lack of consequence management for irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure, as identified by the Auditor General in previous financial years, is but one example, and we need to see better, Minister. Chair, my time is limited, so I will only touch on a few aspects. Since a lot has been said about the South African Post Office already, I will start with SETA. What is going on at SETA, Chair? SETA's mandate is to improve service delivery to the public through provision of information technology, information systems, and related services, and to promote the efficiency of the state departments and public bodies using their services. Yet, exactly the opposite seems to be happening. Department after department appears before committees of this House, and those members of us who attend our portfolio committees will know this, lamenting SETA's poor performance and inability to deliver on its mandate. Instead of enabling proper service delivery and simplifying processes, SETA hampers and frustrates it. An entire rethink is necessary here. Voorsitter, die SABC is miljoene mense in ons land se enigste middel van toegang tot kennis en inligting. En kennis is mag, maar konstante en deurlopende probleme by die SABC ontmagtig as te ware die mense van Suid-Afrika en maak inbraak op van ons mees fundamentele regte soos ons taalregte. Afrikaans is die derde mees gesproke taal in Suid-Afrika, tog kan die SABC nie Afrikaanse kykers die nodige respek betoon deur net die Afrikaanse nuusbulletin byvoorbeeld in 'n vaste tydgleef op 'n redelike tyd soos wat dit vir jare was, soos altyd uit te saai nie. Dan kla die SABC oor taanende advertensie-inkomste, maar watter adverteerder wat 'n spesifieke teikenmark deur 'n spesifieke medium wil bereik, sal belê in advertensies by 'n instansie wat sy bes doen om juist daardie spesifieke teikenmark te vervreem en weg te jaag. En hoekom is die vraag wat ons moet vra, doen die SABC dit? Hierdie departement en sy entiteite is van kardinale belang vir ekonomiese vooruitgang en werkskepping in Suid-Afrika. Die twee belangrikste doelwitte wat gevolg sal gee tot verligting op alle ander gebiede. Daarom mag dit nie misluk nie. Die 7.8 miljard rand begroting moet op die regte prioriteite bestee word. Deurdagte besluite gebaseer op goeie besigheidsbeginsels en nie kosmetiese teikens nie, moet geneem word en uitgevoer word, vry van politiekery, geuite politieke ideologieë, bedrog en korrupsie. Minister, u het nie 'n maklike werk nie. Dis nie maklik om die verval te stop en iets wat oor die verloop van 30 jaar aktief en sistematies afgebreek, misbruik en besteel is nie. Daadwerklike optrede is nodig. Minder praat, meer doen om werklike verandering en sukses te verseker. Ek dank u, voorsitter.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker will be from Action SA, Honourable Kobe. Thank you.
Ke a leboga modulasetulo, ke Kobe. Ke rata go dumedisha tona ya kgoro, Ntate Malatsi, ke re motlatsa tona yena Ntate Gungubele, ke a ba dumedisha. Maloloko ka moka parlamenteng, ke a le dumedisha, ba Afrika Borwa, ke re thobela. Honorable House Chair, South Africa stands on a precipice of digital transformation, a shift that, if steered correctly, could redefine opportunity, service delivery, and national competitiveness. Budget Vote 30 presents a bold and necessary vision to bridge the digital divide, stimulate economic growth, and modernize our state institutions. Action SA acknowledges the Department of Communication and Digital Technologies alignment with the NDP 2030 and priorities of the 7th administration, including inclusive growth, reducing poverty, and rebuilding a capable and ethical state. The strategic pillars, from expanding broad-based access to developing digital skills and ensuring cybersecurity, are comprehensive and commendable. We particularly welcome the department's stated commitment to empowering SMMEs, increasing 5G and fiber connectivity, reducing data costs, and focusing on digital inclusion in underserved areas. If implemented effectively, these plans could contribute meaningfully to bridging South Africa's deepening digital divide. However, House Chair, we cannot ignore the serious and repeated concerns raised by the Portfolio Committee, concerns that cast significant doubt on the department's capacity to deliver on its ambitions. The department's track record is troubling, with chronic underperformance, 4,000 schools still disconnected since 2015, yet targets for 50,000 schools are claimed. Key legislative reforms such as the Electronic Communications Act and SABC bill have been delayed for years, and unfunded mandates, including the critical SA Connect program, which President has publicly committed to, still lacks adequate budget allocation. The failure to ensure policy certainty leaves regulators like ICASA unable to act decisively, and ineffective oversight of entities such as CETA, South African Police Post Office, USASA continue to hemorrhage public funds with little consequence of the reform. The department's targets are vague, unmeasurable, and misaligned with its annual performance plan. There remains no clear path to implementation, no credible accountability mechanisms, and no assurance that digital transformation won't continue to be delayed by litigation, leadership churn, and infrastructural failure. Chairperson, Action SA recognizes the urgency of digital transformation, but we remain deeply concerned that the department is not structurally or financially equipped to meet the demands of this critical portfolio. Minister, even your own GNU partners do not believe you are taking them anywhere. Therefore, we reserve our position to budget vote 30 at this time. Our final decision will hinge on a credible commitment from the department to implement overdue policy reforms, ensure better governance, and address chronic failures that have long plagued the sector. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker will be the Honourable Deputy Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies. Thank you, Honourable.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. House Chairperson, the Minister of Communication and Digital Technology, Minister Swell Malatsi, Chairperson of Portfolio Committee, Honorable Kusela Sangoni, and the Portfolio Committee in general, Honorable members, the Director General, Ms. Nonkubela, Jordan Khan, and leadership of the DCDT, entities, ladies and gentlemen. Mulwe. The department is on course towards a connected and a digitally transformed society. Over a year ago, we presented the department's efforts towards fulfilling the 7th administration's key priority programs. The department remains committed to fulfilling its mandate of enabling a connected and digitally transformed country, building on achievement and work done over the past 30 years of this democratic dispensation. As we celebrate 70 years since the adoption of the Freedom Charter, a cornerstone document of our democratic constitution that espouses the vision of a united, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic and prosperous country, we aim to harness the power of technology and telecommunication to transform our country to one that is economically inclusive and at the cutting edge of the digital transformation. In the President's 2025 State of the Nation address, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa emphasized, open quote, to create jobs, we must leverage our unique strength in our unrealized potential to build the industries of the future, which are green manufacturing, renewable energy, electric vehicles, and the digital economy. It's no surprise, therefore, that this sector has been put under the Vulindlela chapter. Honorable Chairperson, as we present this budget vote, we must first congratulate Telkom for their phenomenal performance for the year ended 31st March 2025. The government, as a 40.5% shareholder, received more than R500 million in dividends. This is critical showing of how public-private partnership can be beneficial for the growth of the economy. Congratulations to ESCOM. Artificial intelligence is one of the defining opportunities of our generation. Globally, AI is shaping economies, disrupting industries, and accelerating change at an unprecedented pace. It is a field marked by intense global competition, rapid innovation, and profound implications for how society are organized. For South Africa, it holds the promise of transformation that is inclusive, empowering, and distinctly African. This is why in this financial year, we will be finalizing the National Artificial Intelligence Policy, which will be submitted to Cabinet for approval, and implementation will commence thereafter. Honorable Chairperson, the acceleration of digital transformation across South Africa's public and private sectors continues to bring unprecedented opportunities and increasing levels of cyber risks. As we deepen our reliance on digital infrastructure for essential services, the resilience of our cyberspace becomes critical to national security, economic stability, and societal well-being. In the 2025-26 budget, the department, through the Cybersecurity Hub, has set ambitious targets to develop a national threat platform and launch a national awareness portal while continuing to mature the Cybersecurity Hub. Honorable Chair, access to digital connectivity, affordable gadgets, and lower data costs alone will not result in our desired outcomes of universal meaningful connectivity if they are not backed by the requisite digital skills. On focus for this financial year will include, amongst others, training 30,000 government employees in digital literacy, cybersecurity awareness, and artificial intelligence fluency. This will be done, Honorable Chair, through strategic partnership between the department, NEMISA, the National School of Governments, TPSA, and industry players like Microsoft, AWC, and Google. We will be embarking on curriculum interventions in partnership with the Department of Basic Education to drive wide-scale delivery of digital literacy, coding, and robotics for schools, including targeted training of teachers, prioritizing rural schools. I thought, Member Ngubane, when he was speaking about our area, I didn't know why he didn't say Alfred, so Madimule, Kokstad, and also mention those where he says no one has seen any connection. We intend on training 12,000 SMMEs in digital entrepreneurship, aimed at transforming formal and informal businesses to embrace e-commerce practices, digital marketing, and online transactions. Finally, in an initial cohort of 20,000 beneficiaries, will be trained in content creation and earning true content creation opportunities. This is the space in which digital skills dovetail with the creative media skills. Honorable Chair, in our quest to build a capable and ethical and developmental state, we have been hard at work since 2023 to ensure that vacancies departmentally and within our entities are filled with capable and ethical men and women. I am happy to report that with the exception of SITA and SAPO, where recruitment processes are at an advanced stage, all our entities have fully constituted boards which are hard at work to fulfill their mandates. As we pursue the business of rescuing SAPO, Chair, we are beginning to see flickers of light at the end of the tunnel. Our faith in this national asset with unparalleled reach has yielded some positive development, which is why this financial year corporate plan outlines a forward-looking vision grounded in 5 strategic objectives, aiming to improve service delivery, diversify revenue, strengthen governance, forge strategic partnership, and manage a seamless transition of business rescue, which is imminent. Through these priorities, SAPO will become a central enabler of economic and digital inclusion in South Africa. By leveraging its national footprints and strategic partnership, SAPO aims to become a key channel for delivering government and commercial services to underserved areas, making it a cornerstone of inclusive economic and digital participation in our country. We look forward to see SAPO thrive. Honorable Chair, we are proud of the significant progress Postbank has achieved in the past 2 years. This includes successfully addressing the condition in the South African Reserve Bank variation notice, transitioning from 3 consecutive years of disclaimer audit opinions to a qualified audit, and the appointment of full complement of the executive and board members. This bank has also maintained consistent and reliable customer service, particularly for its SASSA beneficiaries, with no payment interruptions since the infamous technical glitch of September 2023. This milestone, Honorable Chair, position Postbank well on its path towards becoming a fully fledged commercial state bank. Postbank will continue investing in modernized technology and infrastructure to ensure it becomes a reliable provider for world-class core banking solutions. Honorable members, as Nelson Mandela once said, open quote, safety and security don't happen. They are the result of collective consensus and public investment. We owe our children, the most vulnerable citizen in our society, a life free of violence, close quote. The Film and Publication Board achieved notable progress in regulating media content and protecting vulnerable populations. The FPB analyzed over 200,000 images which contained child sexual abuse material, and through its intervention, some of the cases reported are now within the court system. The newly launched WhatsApp hotline and channel saw the organization resolving 33 out of 40 public complaints, which included addressing issues like revenge porn within 60 days. In this financial year, FPB aims to strengthen its efforts in child protection and digital transformation. It will continue partnering with law enforcement to prosecute CSAM, which is child sexual abuse material cases, and
Thank you,
enhance.
Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister. Your time has expired. Thank you very much. The next speaker will be from ACDP, Honorable Fring. Thank you.
Honorable House Chairperson, the ACDP notes this department's budget of some 3.9 billion rand for the current financial year, with 1.6 billion allocated for transfers and subsidies to ICT enterprise development and state-owned enterprise oversight, including 1.6 billion for phase 2 of the South Africa Connect project to expand broad-based access. We welcome the improvements made at the SABC, and while the Film and Publication Board has been commended for its online monitoring of the 2024 elections, and some progress has been made at Postbank, reducing fraud by 80%, we must ask whether this department is empowering South Africans through communication excellence or merely digitizing dysfunction. The ACDP has previously cautioned for the department to be unambiguous in its mandate, to engage citizens in ways that enable informed decisions and hence improve lives. Yet, the Auditor General continues to flag irregular expenditure, weak internal controls, and contract mismanagement. There are investigations currently by the Public Protector into allegations of board infighting, mismanagement, and lapses in accountability and decision-making at the State Information Technology Agency. The 1.2 billion rand Western Cape Education Department alleged tender irregularity flagged for investigation by the SIU and other legal battles are draining the fiscus in the digital migration process. Additionally, the high staff turnover at executive level and governance and operational inefficiencies have led some government departments to consider applying for exemption from using SETA as their preferred partner for the delivery of IT solutions. Now, while exemptions may offer some short-term relief, they risk fragmenting the public sector IT infrastructure and undermining the very reforms needed to restore trust in the State Information Technology Agency. We agree that Parliament must urgently prioritize the inquiry into SETA's governance failures, ensuring transparent board appointments and enforcing accountability for tenders. The ACDP asserts that digital transformation must not come at the cost of transparency. The department's ambitious roadmap for digital governance must be matched by robust cybersecurity, ethical AI governance, and meaningful public participation. As kingdom builders, the ACDP cautions that this department's ambitious roadmap for digital government must be matched with integrity and not just innovation. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I'm going to go through the list of parties, and if you are in the house, just indicate. The next speaker should be from the UDM. Rise. Anyone from BOSA? ATM? Al Jamal? NCC? PAC, the Honourable Minister of Land Reform and Rural Development? UAT? Good. We'll move on to the DA, Honourable Bodlani. Thank you, Honourable Member.
House Chairperson, Honourable Minister, fellow South Africans, Bagolo Dumelang. Minister, malatsi a year ago, South Africans delivered a clear mandate that they were tired of stagnation and demanded a government that works for them. Minister, you only have one job, and that job is to rescue South Africa. As alluded by the chairperson of this portfolio committee, Uslalo Othandegayo, this department has had budgets approved over many years, yet the lack of political will to put South Africa first has brought us to this point, with an outdated legislation as the biggest reason for this stagnation. Setting up a clear vision for the sector now lies in your capable shoulders, and today you have set this out in this budget. We trust you, Minister, to use your executive authority to rewrite the history of this important service delivery department. Your mission in this department is to ensure that South Africans have accessible and affordable connectivity, that government IT services work effectively, and that South Africa is well positioned for economic growth and job creation through the fourth industrial revolution. Allow me to break down this mission, Minister. On ensuring accessible community, the sad state of our country is that a reported 3 million young people aged between 15 and 25 are not in education, not in employment, or not in training. This paints a dire picture for our future. It should be the role of this department to ensure that a child born in the dusty streets of Soweto, like myself, will have the same opportunity to access the internet and its benefit, just as any other child born into opportunity. In our society, the circumstances of our births must not and should never determine our future, but instead the hunger for one's success should. Our promise to create an equal opportunity society must be kept, Minister. The DA welcomes that the department has a major agenda reform ahead. The department has various entities with overlapping mandates. This wastes money, wastes taxpayers' funds, and indeed undermines productivity. The measure of the BBI and Centec have been on the agenda since the previous administration. Something must happen, something must give. There is now political consensus on this, that their measure to create a state infrastructure agency must proceed without delay. In merging BBI and Centec, the department can consolidate its resources in building infrastructure projects. This will mean better ICT infrastructure for South Africans across the country. The duplication of these entities has slowed down the infrastructure building while costing South Africans more money. In addition, a viable funding model for the South African Broadcasting Corporation must be achieved. We call for a resolution on the SABC bill so that we can proceed with this effort to give clarity on the financial situation of the state broadcaster. The success of the SABC will remain meaningless if South Africans are not able to access the SABC and get credible information. With the rise of mis and disinformation, it is more important that the SABC fills this gap. And this is not a constitutional imperative, but something that will strengthen our democracy. Per the State of the Nation address, where President promised South Africans better working government services, the minister has already started the implementation of this effort. The relaxation of SITA regulations to allow government departments to directly procure ICT services will go a long way in ensuring that days where citizens were turned back from government services because the system is offline are over. These regulations will see government departments operating optimally to provide benefits to citizens who normally spend their hard-earned money on transport to access government services to be told the system is offline. So we thank you, Minister, because no more system is offline. Further, we cannot succeed in creating a digitally industrialized economy if our regulations stifle market competition. A prominent example is BEE regulations. We welcome the draft regulations introduced by Minister Malatsi on equity equivalent investment programs to address this shortcoming. This will allow investors an additional pathway to market access into South Africa through making social investments without sacrificing at least 30% of their ownership. All South Africans deserve affordable high-speed internet. One's geography should not determine that. The insistence by members of the committee that this is done to accommodate one company speaks to your narrow worldview and your practices, where your organizations are known to tailor-make specifications to suit preferred persons or companies. We do not operate like that. Minister, Minister, the work of the Film and Publication Board is really understated. The world around has become more digitized. We need to protect children from harmful, inappropriate content. Streaming services, which are the future of entertainment, remain unregulated in our country, leaving a large gap. This requires our collective and urgent attention. Over a year, while considerable work has been achieved, there remains pressing challenges, namely the post office and the post bank. We remain concerned about the future of post office and we also acknowledge that a delicate balance between public need and state resources must be struck. The fiscus has completely run out of funds for bailouts, while the need for accessible postal services remain. We trust that the working group that the minister has created with the National Treasury will secure a viable future for the post office through private-public partnerships. We welcome the reported exit of the business rescue practitioners as post bank.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Your time has expired.
Support the budget.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker will be from the ANC, Honourable Subrati. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, let me follow the protocol of members who have come before me and greet everyone in the House, greet fellow South Africans. Assalamu alaikum, good morning, and Sanbonani. Honorable House Chair, I've had the opportunity, like many of us, to attend various budget vote debates in the past 10 days. And some of them were headed by departments, headed by GNU ministers from Good, from Cocter, and from DA. And I couldn't but help appreciate and notice the collegiality between the ministers, the deputy ministers, the departments, and members of the Portfolio Committee. And Chairperson, House Chair, as we reflect on this critical budget vote debate, we must confront the harsh reality that in this House, under the DA Minister, our communication department has become a battleground and an area of contention between those who seek transformation and those who are determined to maintain the status quo of exclusion. The ANC's vision of a digitally inclusive South Africa where every citizen has equal access to opportunities under the digital economy stands in stark contrast to the DA's agenda of protecting monopoly interests and foreign corporations at the expense of Black economic empowerment. Today, House Chair, we must confront how the DA, through Minister Malatsi's leadership, has systematically undermined transformation efforts whilst presenting itself as a champion for progress. Before we confront the shortfall of the minister in this 7th administration, let us reflect and go back to what the ANC had achieved when it had overseen the 6th administration of this Department of Communications. Under the ANC's leadership, 1.8 million households were connected to broadband, which was a historic leap in closing the digital divide. On top of that, Honorable House Chairperson, 5 million citizens were equipped with digital skills, empowering a new generation for jobs in the future. And I have the research, you can access it from me. Additionally, the digitization of over 136 e-government services has revolutionized service delivery, earning global recognition as South Africa climbed 25 places from 65 to 40 in the United Nations e-government Index 2024. The SA Connect program expanded internet access to rural and underserved areas, whilst digital broadcasting migration provided 1.3 million indigent households with subsidized decoders and supported 1,279 installation companies. On the policy side, we amended the Post Bank Bill, the South African Post Office Bill, as well as we introduced the draft SABC Bill. Honorable Chairperson, it's important to understand the journey we have walked to this point. We are seeing regression in the current administration. The minister's silence on leveraging Postbank's infrastructure to establish a state bank is a glaring omission in the department's transformative agenda. A state bank is not just a financial institution, but it is a critical tool for economic inclusion, particularly for marginalized communities that remained underserved by commercial banks. The ANC has long championed the creation of a state bank to democratize access to credit and to stimulate grassroots economic development. The minister's reluctance to advance this initiative reveals a deeper ideological resistance to state-led interventions that challenge entrenched monopolies. Postbank's existence infrastructure provides a ready-made foundation for this venture. South African Post Office. The minister's failure to articulate concrete plans for SAPO's financial turnaround and operational efficiency, Chairperson, is deeply concerning. The entity could play a pivotal role in e-commerce, in digital financial services, and in the last mile delivery. Yet,
The minister's plans lack bold reforms to unlock these opportunities. Instead of proactive measures we see regressive targets and a passive approach to SAPO's collapse, which disproportionately affects township communities and rural communities who require its services. Chairperson, the SABC's alarming 85% license fee non-compliance rate has pushed the public broadcaster into a dangerous reliance on advertising revenue that could severely undermine its editorial independence and public mandate. The minister's failure to prioritize the SABC bill, which proposes alternative funding models, is a glaring omission on the annual performance plan. This delay leaves the broadcaster in financial peril. The SABC bill must be fast-tracked, and without it, the broadcaster's future may be uncertain. The ANC's positions on ICASA's role in this matter is unequivocal. Our independent regulator must be allowed to perform its duties without political interference, applying the law equally to all participants. Attempts to undermine ICASA's authority in the Starling case may set a dangerous precedent that could unravel years of careful policy development aimed at creating a more inclusive digital economy. We cannot, Honorable Chairperson, allow our regulatory framework to be cherry-picked based on which companies have most political connections or international backing. The minister's approach to Starlink reveals the fundamental disregard for the principle of equality before the law, a principle that is foundational in any democratic society. The betrayal of our sovereignty doesn't end here, Honorable Chairperson. There is a systematic effort to dismantle CETA through policy directives aimed at ensuring private sector entities handle the procurement of sensitive ICT equipment. This is not only a way of undermining state agency, but it is a long-term privatization strategy of key state entities. The minister must prioritize the ECA amendment bill process without further hesitation, ensuring that it aligns with South Africa's transformative agenda of equitable access and digital justice. We cannot afford to keep kicking this legislative reform down the road. South Africa's digital future depends on bold, decisive action now. As the African National Congress, we remain committed to digital transformation, which is rooted in the Freedom Charter's promise that the people shall share in the country's wealth. In the digital age, this means ensuring that the benefits of technological progress are distributed equitably, rather than being hoarded by a privileged few. It means protecting and promoting local content in our indigenous languages, thereby preventing our cultural sovereignty from being eroded by global platforms. Despite the DA's obstruction, the ANC remains committed to advancing transformative policies that will create a genuinely inclusive digital economy. We will continue to push for a modernized ICT laws and prioritize Black economic participation. We will fight to protect ICASA's independence and ensure it regulates without fear or favor. We will demand urgent action on rural connectivity and digital literacy programs. We will also expose and oppose any attempts to sell our digital sovereignty to foreign interests. The upcoming national dialogue presents a critical opportunity for South Africans. Yet the DA's petulant decision to boycott the process revealed their true character as nothing more than crybabies who would rather sulk on the sidelines than engage in the meaningful solutions. Honorable Chairperson, as the ANC, we will not be crybabies. We will support this project and this budget, Minister, not because you are doing a great job, but because we need to do a great job for South Africans. and provide a digital economy. It is for this reason that the ANC will support this budget with the recommendation of the committee. Ngiyabonga and thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The final speaker in the debate. Thank you, Honorable Members. The final speaker in the debate will be the Honorable Minister of Communications and Technologies.
Chair, order.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
Chair.
Well, Honorable Minister, will you just take a seat? I have a hand. Yes,
Chair,
member. What do you want to be recognized?
Chair, we're expecting the minister also to attack the ANC because it's clear they are fighting.
This is not a point of order. Thank you very much.
Please fight,
Honorable Minister,
fight
please
back.
proceed. Honorable Minister, you may proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, House Chair, and to the members of the Portfolio Committee. It is very clear that there have been two different approaches to the response to the budget. One by those who have played an active role in the work of the Portfolio Committee, reflected in some of the substantive input that they have made. And for that, we want to thank the parties that have supported this budget. Yours didn't. And we also want to take note because we understand that this supporting the budget also comes with a difficulty of finding sources of conflict to then deal with the response to that. Be that as it may, I thought there were some key inputs that ought to be responded to. One is this fictional battle that is being drawn about being anti-transformation or not. And it's important that we deal with the facts. And I thought for my fellow honorable colleague, Honorable Subrathi, that it is mindful to also reflect on the President's newsletter that reflected on the equity equivalent programs. And it says, some in the public space have recently sought to suggest that the EIPs represent a circumvention of BBBEE laws and that it's a response to the conditions of a particular company or sector. Neither are factually correct. Firstly, the EIPs is not new and has been in existence for a debate. That captures that it cannot be correct that it is attributable to be an onslaught on transformation when it is a further entrenchment of what the transformation laws of the country seeks to achieve. But I always enjoy the robust engagements with Honorable Subrathi. Honorable Tambo, I take note of your consistency with regards to advocacy on data costs and lowering them. And I thought the contribution to ICASA is very important because in there it empowers it to continue with the proactive interventions that are needed to drive lower data costs. And on that note, I would have expected that as difficult as it is to support the budget, you'd at least support that intervention. Thanks very much, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. And thank you to all the members for participating. That concludes the debate and the business of this mini plenary session. The mini plenary will now rise. Thank you.
When I got. I attended it.
Yeah.